Hello everyone, I'm really glad to be here today with our partners, colleagues, employers, suppliers. 25 years ago, together with Regimantas, we started this business. All these years I was inside or next to ACC, now I'm a member of the board, and I'm really glad to have this conference today and participate. I'm also chairman of the board of Vesta Consulting, the largest sustainability consulting company in the Baltics, and I will talk about the sustainability in the business. I can see what it looks like to us. I also see what it looks like from the side as a member of consulting company. I see the problems ACC and other businesses face. Let's start from talking about the sustainability in general. So, in general, sustainability is defined by the United Nations. It's development that helps with the needs of today, but does not impede the possibility of the future generations with their needs. So, when we talk about companies, we often talk about ESG instead. It's a collection of criteria that helps us evaluate the sustainability of the companies and the impact of the business. Here we have, often we talk about sustainability in general, and right now ESG is environmental, social, and economical, which means governance, impact. So, to compare sustainable and regular models of business, for sustainable business, all stakeholders receive value instead of just shareholders. Let's put it all on the screen. And when we're talking about sustainability, it's a long-term thing. We're talking about 10, 15 or more years. We're trying to create a value throughout the whole chain. We're talking about value for shareholders and such when we're talking about regular short-term business models, but for sustainability, we need to create the value for the whole society. We need to consider those who are working with us as suppliers. We need to consider our clients, society, etc., to think about long-term perspective. My colleague talked about the future. I will talk about the future, but through the green prism. There's a difference between corporate social responsibility and sustainability. CSR is based on the fact of demonstrating us, of showing off, but the consumer of that is influencers, media, and sustainability is important because it gives to the whole chain, our clients, our suppliers, etc. It's similar when we talk about companies being CO2 neutral and companies talking about net zero. CO2 neutral is when we are using the compensation mechanism. For example, we did some manufacturing or something, we created carbon pollution, and we can compensate it by buying a certificate from some company which says that there were trees planted in Bolivia and we spend 300 euros and we say, yay, we have a CO2 neutral situation. Net zero is an entirely different situation when we try to avoid creating any CO2 emissions, or we're just even trying to capture the carbon and store it. This is the core difference here. There are other important concepts, greenwashing and bluewashing. To understand them, well, greenwashing was created in '86 when certain hotels in New York started using a slogan, "Save the environment," but they didn't actually do anything to avoid, to curb consumption. It was just a loud slogan when hotels didn't actually achieve anything. Greenwashing is a hugely important topic. It involves labels that help us pretend that we're doing something, but without actually doing anything. Bluewashing is more used when we're talking about oceans, but generally that's related. Here are some examples. For example, Ryanair used the slogan that they use lowest emission, lowest fuel, but the Association Advertising Standards Authority evaluated that and they had to remove it. Same was for HSBC, that was actually one of the largest funders of fossil fuel industry. Same is for BP, Shell, which are companies that don't really do anything to lower their fossil fuel production. They try to pretend that they are green. You can see a sun, but they're one of the largest carbon producers in the world. Now, why do we need sustainability? First of all, the directive of the EU says that all the companies will need to start providing sustainability reports soon. And they also are working with the financial authorities, and soon we will need to provide both financial and environmental reports. Banks are already asking us to provide them with information. What are we doing about sustainability? Same for the investment funds. There's also the pressure by the stakeholders. Millennials who are coming to the market, the employees who are working, the customers, they consider sustainability important, even though they are not yet inclined to pay extra for sustainability, but they are already watching us, and the need for sustainability will just increase in the future. Competitive advantages, companies that are working with sustainability and are actually doing something there, they will be more attractive as employers, for example. I would like to go through the creation of the sustainability strategy and what we did at ACC Distribution. Sustainability is the art of tiny steps, and we are continuously walking it. We're creating new goals. We're trying to be better all the time, and I will go through it. So first of all, it's preparation, stakeholder analysis, impact analysis, etc. So let's start by the preparation stage. The organization needs to evaluate its current state, where it is now, and also introduce the team to what sustainability is in general. What are mistakes made here? Well, the main mistakes are, some suppliers want reports, so just reports are made and nobody actually cares about it. So you give it away to lawyers, they prepare it, and these are the documents. In this case, even the team, even the organization doesn't even know that such things exist, and people don't understand why sustainability is important. We just skip the education about it. And often organizations only look at sustainability just for the compliance. Second stage is the analysis of stakeholders. We need to identify relevant stakeholders, how the topic of sustainability impacts all our stakeholders, board, clients, government, etc. Then we need to evaluate which of them are important and how important. We assign the priorities, and generally, potential mistakes here are forgetting to add some stakeholders. For example, as ACC, we need to analyze our supply chain. We need to see whether our suppliers are working sustainably. And it's the same when we are delivering products. We need to evaluate our impact. Do we actually do anything sustainably? So, main mistakes here are that sometimes we forget to add all relevant stakeholders. Sometimes sustainability strategy is incompatible with current company strategy, and then sometimes companies just look into what the environment does for the company instead of what company does for the environment. The third topic is the analysis of importance. We need to find important topics. As a distributor, we don't really need to talk about the water consumption. Our topics are packaging, logistics. We need to talk also about social responsibility. We need to figure out which topics are important for us. There are websites like MSCI. You can just choose, are you a distributor or manufacturer? You can choose your industry, and you can find general information, what is probably most important for you. For us, these 8 topics are more important: climate change, etc., social topics. Since we're not a manufacturing company, we need to care about human rights, about our employees, are they happy or not, their education, and we actually care, and it's important, our governance. We need to be transparent, we need to protect our data, which is probably the most important topic for all technology companies. Potential mistakes, for example, incorrectly identifying the important topics, only talking about those that are comfortable, for example, where we can do something, like we switch to the electric vehicles, but we don't report about huge pollution in our supply chain, human rights violations, mistreatment of employees in our partners. Sometimes just important topics are taken from the list instead of actually analyzing what's relevant for this particular organization. And this is just a compliance thing, basically, in this case. This will not work long term. Or, for example, sometimes the topics are important which cannot be measured. Next topic is risk management. And potential mistakes here is that the sustainability topics are not added to the risk register of the company. And all companies have their risk registers, and very often there's nothing about sustainability there. I think it's important to remember to add sustainability topics there. Sometimes opportunities are being forgotten. For example, there's a growing need of sustainable products, and there's nobody in particular, no person who's responsible for the sustainability, or it's just thrown away to be taken care by a PR person. Often then nothing really changes in the company. Next stage is setting goals, KPIs, and actions. For example, these are tables from our ACC strategy. We have environmental topics, we have actions, what we will do, we have KPIs we will measure. We're constantly updating and improving this, adding it to our risk reports, and we're constantly working on these topics because we believe that we already made an impact on sustainability, and we will make it even more impact in the future. And the last stage is monitoring and reporting. And GRI reporting is a standard for the business. You can find a lot of them prepared well, but sometimes organizations don't even know that they have these reports. So formally, the report exists, somebody prepared it, but nobody else knows about it even existing. This is wrong, because you need to go by introducing, educating your employees, your partners. You need to honestly review what you can do, what you cannot do. And this transparency throughout reporting, you need to report both good things and bad things. This is what's important about when we're talking about sustainability and transparency. Again, the problem is that often high-level managers don't even know about it. Sometimes the goals are overly ambitious in the environmental area, but there's nothing done for governance. And often companies report only the good things instead of things where they need to improve. We also need to talk about long-term goals, 10 to 20 years or even more. Right now, we're just taking the first steps here. There's more and more regulation, there's more and more investors who are looking at the companies, at their sustainability reports. More and more employees and clients care about sustainability. And I think that while we're just starting, Lithuania is actually in a great position here. We are impacted by Scandinavian countries via banks, business connections, and Scandinavian countries are probably leading the world in environmental and sustainability areas. Americans, Asians often don't understand that, I mean, there are progressive companies, but in general, the situation is pretty poor. And we, as Lithuanians, we are in a great situation, and we can be among leaders for sustainability. Even though our society is quite flexible, is capable of adapting, and I think we will be able to welcome all the sustainability actions. We are learning about governance, we are having more and more women on the boards, women as leaders. And I think we can do more and more about sustainability. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. I'm not a consultant, I'm a businessman, so I'm trying to combine the theory of consulting with what I see in the practice. First of all, thank you for a great presentation. And as you can see, we have a lot of questions. And let's start from the top. How can a business evaluate and measure its environmental impact? You already talked about it. Well, you can just get ready your ESG. You can prepare your ESG strategy, you can set your KPIs. And for example, if you are a factory, you are impactful over your environmental. If you're an NGO, you need to look into what you're doing to society, your impact on humans. You need to see what are your impact, where your impact is, and what you can change. You need to set clear topics. You need to find what you can change. You need to be honest about what you cannot change. And you need to slowly improve yourself. We're not talking about doing something in a second. It's a long-term thing. You need to do it step by step, understand what sustainability is, educate yourself, your family members, your employees, your clients. There's no other way. United Nations has set sustainable developmental goals. There's 17 images, and there's about education, about clean oceans, and there's an idea what we need to do, what we need to achieve. And if we don't do anything at all, we're not getting anywhere. So ESG is related to all of that, but it's talking more about business, about organizations. We all need to do something. Another question, you talked about greenwashing. Could you provide some examples of businesses with a successful sustainability strategy? Some businesses that actually implemented some sustainability companies. All large businesses have their sustainability strategies, and many of them have implemented sustainable solutions. For example, Apple has several standards, several reports, and they are talking about how they changed manufacturing processes in China in a factory to use less plastic that had some pollutant. So there are many companies which are taking the steps. Some certain manufacturers just cannot avoid doing that, but small companies are trying as well. Another question is, how can a business find balance between sustainability and profitability? Well, there's a general image that sustainability is expensive. Well, preparing a report costs nothing, but actually doing something is expensive, and obviously everything we're doing is expensive. But I think that one good example is to look ahead. How will it affect us in 10 to 20 years? For example, this recent energy crisis makes us consider that countries that are exporting oil and gas, they don't really do anything related to sustainability. But countries without natural resources like Lithuania, when we face the situation how expensive things are, we're trying to do something. For example, we're making solar parks, wind turbines, and obviously now it's expensive, but in 10 to 20 years it might just be the other way around. So generally we're talking about really long-term things. For example, an investor comes and wants to buy a company, they will ask for a sustainability report. If there is no sustainability report, of course you can make it overnight, but there's nothing to put on it. So obviously this will have a negative effect on the purchase price. I think we have to do it on all sides. So we probably need to start with strategies, and there is a question of how long does it take to get a sustainability strategy ready. I talked about certain steps, what does the road look like from the start to the end. And generally, for us, with all the roads we took, but when we finally understood what we are doing, I think it took us maybe half a year or a year, but we're still going, we're still trying to make things better, trying to improve. We're constantly talking, communicating to our suppliers, our clients, we're asking what they want, what they'd like to see, etc. What would you say to those who see development just as expense, not investment? Well, yes, these are expenses, but these are the expenses now that will become an investment later in the future. All of us think that it costs now, but it's unavoidable in the future. You already mentioned some examples. I can mention some bad examples instead. For example, one company, I think it's made an event for us, I think. And I talked to the organizers and said that we need to do it sustainably. They said they understand. And then later on, they come to me and say they bought a certificate from a company. They paid 300 euros. So basically, the event is sustainable. These compensation practices where you have no idea who planted the tree, where it was done, was it done at all? Of course, there are companies that can check the certificates, but I think that we need practice that when you are making an event, you need to do something right where you are making it. You're doing something in the Baltic countries, you plant the trees here, you make social events here, and this is the real thing, instead of just buying certificates somewhere. So basically not a certificate, but a real action right where we are polluting. Next, maybe some philosophical question, how much does sustainability cost? But you can also answer it with a question, how much does your tomorrow cost? Again, we have a global situation and we have a company sustainability. In a global stage, we cannot do nothing. And all of us are trying to do something. For company sustainability, we are forced to do it by, as I mentioned, external stakeholders, but internal goals are very important. We need to have the mindset that our Baltic countries need to have a future. There are small steps that we need to do, but sustainability right now is most expensive money-wise. It's not that much about the money. Of course, it will be more and more expensive in the future. We're constantly talking to our logistics partners, etc., and it's becoming fruitful. Sustainability is also how you behave with your team members. Sustainability is governance. It's not that much about teamwork, it's more about the structure in the company, the organization. Do you have sustainability goals at the highest levels? Is there diversity in the company? Are there women in governing positions? Are salaries equal? When we're talking about communication with people, it's not the topic of sustainability. Everything starts with you. If you talk to your colleagues and you decide to avoid using certain plastics, for example, it's a thing done, it's an action done for sustainability. And again, one question as Regimantas received, how do you see ACC Distribution within next 25 years? I see ACC as a successful company. We are constantly changing, but we are keeping our core values intact. We are staying willing to work in the market. We keep our friendships alive inside with our employees and our partners. And sustainability-wise, we're already doing a lot and we will be doing more and more. And the goal is to become leaders in the topic of sustainability, at least in our society, in our industry. We want to assist our partners, advise them how to go, how to proceed with sustainability. And I believe that in general, all our companies in the Baltics that are working in this industry, we have a mature community, we have strong companies, and things will only get better. Thank you for great positivity. Thank you for your presentation and discussion. And here is a token gift for you. Thank you.